Hello and welcome back to Democracy, everybody. Welcome back to Helldivers 2, where today we're going to be ranking all of the secondary weapons in Helldivers 2. So our first secondary is the P2 Peacemaker. This is the starting pistol. It does okay damage. You can spam it out pretty quick. It holds an okay amount of rounds, both outside and inside of it. It is an okay enough pistol for just about everything. It's going to be in C tier. It's not really that crazy. I think if they gave it like armor pen and maybe gave it like 2 more magazines, or gave it like medium armor pen, it has light armor pen on it now, but give it like medium armor pen and like 2 more magazines, and it could be like a more spammy version of like the Deagle. I think that would be a perfectly decent option, and it still wouldn't be like crazy, but it would more benefit like newer players that are just hopping into the game. Then we've got the P19 Redeemer. This is the little submachine gun. This one is pretty solid. This one's going to go up into A tier. This one is really good. This one does pretty much the same everything as the starting assault rifle does, the Liberator, but instead of it having multiple magazines like the Liberator does, this one only has 4, so you get less magazines overall, and this one does have a higher rate of fire, but it's still basically on par with something like the Peacemaker, just you get a lot more DPS out of it. It's a lot more useful for having as a backup weapon for when enemies do get close. You can just spray it out into enemies and kill them fairly quickly. You can also switch to semi-auto and then just pick off things too, which is kind of nice, because it works just fine for picking off like small bugs, small bots, small squids, whatever it might be. Then we've got the P13 Verdict. This is the Deagle pretty much. This one has better damage than something like the Peacemaker. It has medium armor pen, which is pretty good. You can spam it out pretty fast. It's got a lot of extra magazines to it. It's all around a pretty solid pistol. I don't find myself using it over some of the other weapons, but I would say that this one's a very high B tier or a low A tier. It's overall a pretty good weapon. There's nothing really to complain about it either. It kind of goes with everything. You can slap it onto pretty much any build and you'll be fine with it. It's a decent enough pistol at really everything. Then we've got the P4 Senator. This one is the Big Iron. This one's a heavy armor pen pistol, which is pretty interesting, meaning that you can hurt basically everything that you shoot with it. You can also reload this one in 2 different ways, where you can either reload 1 round at a time, assuming that you didn't use up all of your rounds, or you can get a speed loader and reload all your rounds once all of your rounds are spent. And ever since it got that upgrade, as well as the heavy armor pen, this one has been really good. This one is one of the best secondaries in the game. It's one of my favorites. Sights are a little bit weird on it. I wish they were a little bit better in first person, but it's still like S tier. It is very good. It can one-shot a lot of enemies. It can also just spam down certain enemy types too. And even against the biggest enemies, you can still pull out your 6-shooter and do some damage to them. So the Senator is fantastic. Then we've got all of the melee options. And I'm going to put all of the melee weapons in, like, situational. So the Stun Lance is probably the weakest out of the melee weapons. I honestly haven't used melee weapons that much as secondaries because I find them kind of awkward. Now, all the melee weapons are good because you don't have to rely on ammo for them, and that is a really big bonus. The Spear you can stab fairly quick with. It does decent enough damage. It can kind of stun lock enemies. It's pretty good for picking off, like, bugs and squids. Not very good against bots. None of the melee weapons are really that good against bots, because they'll just kind of beat you up too, unless it's on a one-on-one fight, in which case then it's usually okay. But against crowds, melee weapons are a little bit awkward to be using unless you kind of keep kiting them backwards as you're stabbing them. So the Spear's fine. The Stun Baton I think is a little bit better than the Spear, just because it has more guaranteed stuns to it, although it does less damage. So it's a little bit awkward there. And the Combat Hatchet, it's kind of cool. I like pairing it with a shield because it just fits the best with a shield out of the weapons. The Spear kind of can too, especially the new energy shield rather than the ballistic shield, but I think the Combat Hatchet goes really well with the ballistic shield. This one is shorter reach, but you can kind of spam it a little bit more against crowds of enemies, so it's kind of useful there, but it always feels kind of awkward to me, and honestly I just don't have enough practice with any of the melee weapons to give them that much more than a situational. Like, they're useful if you run out of bullets and you're just fighting regular, like, smaller enemies, not a big deal then, but if you're going to be trying to fight any of the big enemies, any of the melee weapons feel kind of awkward, so yeah, not really the best. Up next, we have the Las Dagger. This one is actually decent. This one has essentially infinite ammo to it. It's a laser pistol. You just hold it on targets until they melt. Does decent damage per second. I find myself not using this one very much. I find it pretty awkward to be using, and I'd rather have some of the other pistols over it. So I'm going to put this one into C tier, but I do have more respect for it now than I used to. I used to basically never use this weapon and think that it was garbage. Ever since it got changed, I think it is better. It used to be pretty bad to where it was just overheating super quick before. And yeah, you had basically infinite ammo, but you did like no damage, so that doesn't really help in a lot of missions. Missions do have a timer on them, so I'd rather have weapons that are killing. Still a decent pistol though, not bad at all. I bet if I use it more, it might move up to like B tier, because it does feel pretty good, especially in longer missions or with primary weapons that can run out of ammo quicker. Then we've got the Bushwhacker. This is the sawed-off triple barrel shotgun. This one does as much damage as the Punisher, which is pretty crazy. This one can either be fired in one barrel at a time, so semi-auto, or you can fire all 3 barrels out at once for a big blast of damage. Does a lot of damage at close range. It's very good against bugs, because it can like one-shot stalkers. It can one-shot actually a lot of bugs. It can one-shot warriors and pretty much all the smaller bugs. It can one-shot any of the small bots as well, even just with like leg shots or just flick shots. It also has very good spread for a sawed-off shotgun. Like, it has surprisingly long effective range, and it's pretty good against squids too. The Bushwhacker, I'd say, is like more of a B tier weapon, probably above the Deagle, because it's not great on every mission. Like on bot missions, it's kind of awkward to be using, especially if they've got like a lot of devastators at all. They can just kind of stay out of range, and you can't really do much to them with it. But at very close range, especially enemies like the squids and the bugs that have to get close, the Bushwhacker is actually really solid, and it would probably move up to like A tier on them, but probably B tier overall. Then we've got the P72 Crisper pistol. This one I actually really like. I figured I would hate this pistol because, like, the Flamethrower is always kind of awkward, and the Flamethrower can cause a lot of problems. You can burn yourself really, really easily with it. That isn't such a big deal since fire got nerfed a while back to where it doesn't do insane friendly fire damage, so that's nice. This does also run out of fuel pretty quick. It has about like a 6 or 7 second burst of fuel on it before you would have to reload it, but it does melt through just about everything, as well as it kind of subverts heavy armor too. So Crisper against like bugs, I would actually say is like A tier. Against bots, it becomes like C tier, and then against squids, it's probably like B tier. So I'm going to compromise and put it into B tier. This one does move around pretty frequently. If enemies are staying at close range, it's much better, as you would expect a Flamethrower to be, but against ranged enemies, it's going to be a whole lot worse. It's not even that bad against bots, it's hard to get closer to bots than it is for bugs or squids. So yeah, like B tier. And then we've got the Ultimatum. The Ultimatum is the newest secondary weapon that we've gotten, and this one is just a single-shot grenade launcher that's as strong as a precision strike for some reason. This one just nukes whatever you hit with it, and this one can be really good. Depends on what mission you're going on, though. If you're going on like a blitz mission, this one's fantastic. If you're going on missions where you need to knock out certain enemies, like you can knock out Titans with this, Chargers with this, you can blow up entire buildings with it if you just need to get through somewhere easier. You only get 2 shots with this though. 3, I think, if you're using the ammo armor. Maybe it's just 2 then, 2. I honestly don't remember. 2 shots, 1 shot every time that you pick up an ammo pack, so not a whole lot of rounds. Your primary is going to have to be doing a lot of work, but this does work really well as a secondary for knocking out certain things. So if you want it in a designated role for that, I would say it's S tier. You could also argue it to the situational tier though, because on certain missions, sometimes I take the Ultimatum and I don't end up using it like at all through the entire mission, or I use it once and then I put it away, and it would have just been better to go with like any of the other secondaries over it. But other times I end up using it multiple times to knock out things like Titans, Chargers, Hulks, tanks, whatever it might be, various mission objectives. So it really depends on the mission type though. Then we've got the Plas 15 Loyalist pistol. This one's actually pretty good. The plasma pistol's nice. This one you can either spam out and it does pretty high damage, or you can charge it up and fire it. And the charge up shot has more of a splash damage like pretty much all the plasma weapons. Does pretty good damage, decent damage per second. You will need to reload it pretty often if you're spamming it out though. But assuming that you got the range for it, it knocks out a lot of things. It also is really good for any shield enemies, whether that be the squids or the bots. Less useful against bugs though, I would say. I think I'm going to put this one high up into A tier too. I think it's a really solid secondary overall. Then we got the Grenade Pistol. Grenade Pistol is kind of like the Ultimatum, but it's the one that I use a whole lot more often. This one does substantially less damage, but you get more shots with it. It's good for closing up holes. It's one of only 2 secondaries that can do that. It's good for knocking out objectives. It can be good for shooting at shielded enemies too. And it's decent for the crowd control. You don't get a ton of shots for this. You get 8 in total, assuming that you're not running ammo armor, in which case then you get more. But this one I would probably say is also S tier. It's really good for a lot of the same missions that like the Ultimatum would be good on. And then we got the stim pistol, which kind of has to go into the situational. This one is the P11 stim pistol. This one's awesome. I love the stim pistol. It's really good. Holds 6 shots, I believe, or maybe it's 5 shots in it. Basically a little revolver that shoots out syringes. If you hit teammates with it, it will heal them. And you can kind of use this as a weapon. Not really, because it doesn't really do any damage to enemies. But you can still use it like shoot mines and stuff to blow them up, which is kind of nice. This one reloads pretty much the same way the Senator does, where you can either reload it one needle at a time or reload it with a speed loader. And the healing syringes from this are not as good as dedicated stims from the Helldivers themselves, but they can still trigger all the stim status effects that the stims normally do. And you do get like 30 shots for this. So it's really good. It's worse if you're playing with people that have like high ping though. So if you're playing in different servers, not in your country, stim pistol is much more difficult to land shots. It's also a lot more difficult if teammates are running around, getting knocked around by different things and stuff. But the stim pistol is awesome. It's fantastic. And this is where I'd rate all the secondaries against all the races in Helldivers 2. I'll probably be doing each individual race for the primary weapons though, because I feel like that makes a little bit more sense than the secondaries, because you can always take a secondary that complements your primary or does a job that your primary can't. Where the secondaries, you can also do the same thing there if you'd like. Like we talked about with like the shotgun, I would say this one's probably higher up for bugs. Same thing goes with the flamethrower. And then like the plasma pistol would be lower for them. But either way, tell me your thoughts on the secondaries in Helldivers 2. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.